Well, it's elimination day in MLB. Which teams will survive today? And also, which managers will survive the day after some more firings occurred? Is now a really bad time to be replacing your manager? We're going to talk about it in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere. Another edition of the PHNX Dbacks podcast live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. I have way too much energy for this to be an off-season podcast, but welcome into you all. Thank you guys for being here. This is the PHNX Dbacks podcast. My name is Derek Monty, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX, and we're still talking baseball. Apparently, Damon missed the memo, and he's just not here today. So we got Kevin on the ones and twos, aka Large Intimate, is back to beat me up and also talk about baseball with me. No Wilbur's in the chat. Kevin, no Wilbur's in the chat. Those Wilbur's out here. It's the wrong show. You're obviously confused, sir. But welcome in to all of you guys. We are still doing this show. We're still talking about baseball. Glad to have you guys here with us. Of course, this show is brought to you by our friends at Bet365 and Game Time. Make sure to download that Bet365 app. Use our code of PHNX365 to get yourself some bonus bets when you first sign up. And over at Game Time, use our code of PHNX. You'll get $20 off your first ticket purchase on those already low last-minute ticket deals. It is elimination day here in Major League Baseball. A couple of teams here facing elimination. Overall, we got the Tigers right now facing off against the Guardians. Last I checked, that game was 1-1. Kevin will give us an update on that score. Cubs could eliminate those ringless bums from San Diego once again, and that would be outstanding to see just based on pettiness and spite. NL division rival. We can't ever hope for any of our division rivals to do anything good, right, Kevin? I mean, that's something that you as a Cardinals fan must staunchly believe in, and that's why you might not feel the same way about this series.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. You cannot root for these division. They can't do anything for you. When's the last time the Cubs have ever done something for me?
No,
never.
It's like I said. I mean, I appreciate what the Marlins did. Right, the Marlins they put up a fight, much like the Diamondbacks did after the trade deadline. They played well after the trade deadline, but most importantly, they ended the Mets season. And at that point, they had nothing to play for. They were eliminated from the playoffs themselves. But what did they play for? Spite, pettiness, and I'm here for it. Eliminating your division rival who had an epic collapse, being a part of that, being the one to land that final elbow off the top rope on them after your faction jumped them already in a wrestling terms is amazing. But again, it's one of those things that you'd love to see the Padres go out. You would love to see the Dodgers, who could end the Reds' fun today. The Reds were, at least that team that benefited from that collapse there, and overall, love to see the Reds come back and do it to the Dodgers. Dodgers proved to be fallible. They proved to have a weakness, something we knew all too well. Their starting pitching is very good. Their offense is very good. If you can keep that game close, if the Reds can figure out a way to keep that game close today and get once again to the Dodgers bullpen, I think they have a chance. And I don't think this Dodgers team is nearly as tough as people think, considering how weak that bullpen is. I don't know who's going to step up for them, but I hope nobody does. I hope all the bad things happen to them and nobody but them because, once again, spite. Great to see you guys here in the chat. Andrew, great to see you here. Candace, lovely to have you here as well. Kevin, get your emojis out of the chat. And again, the Red Sox could end the Yankees fun as well today. So who's going to be eliminated overall? I don't know if anybody's going to be eliminated. I do feel like the Dodgers will probably end the Reds' little postseason fun. I proposed this to Kevin or to Damon yesterday, Kevin, but I'll throw this fictitious situation out at you. Do you really care if your team makes the playoffs, if they just came in and get steamrolled in 2 games and that's the end of their playoff run? Not to say that would have happened to the Diamondbacks, because they do play the Dodgers well, and that season series ended 7-6 in the Dodgers' favor, but it could have easily gone in the Diamondbacks' favor considering that one, extra innings game. But overall, does a forgettable run in the playoffs matter to you for your baseball team?
I think in other sports, I'd be more inclined to say, no, I'd rather finish lower, get the higher draft pick. But I think in baseball, it's just a different dynamic, right? I think
Sure.
you'd rather be in the dance because you never really know. But I guess in the hypothetical where they do go in and get blown out immediately, I still think you take pride in making the run to the playoffs.
Right.
I don't think there's really any shame there is shame, in fact, in being like the first team not to make the playoffs, right? The first team to be cut, the first team to be eliminated out of that run. I think that is shame in there. If you're just bad the whole year and there's no hope, there's no faith, that's one thing. But I think if you're in the race as a fan, I want you in the race.
Well, what are your thoughts overall on the 3-game playoff format? Like having the alternative, I guess, could be the 1-game playoff format, which seems to be more dramatic, more fun, right? But again, you're not really giving a team a true chance, and considering that baseball as a whole is a game of series, right, throughout the year, it does feel like multiple games makes more sense than doing just a 1-game playoff.
Yeah, I think a 3-game series is electric. Honestly, I think like it gives the underdog, the road team, an opportunity to shock people in game 1, really make their mark early on in the playoffs. And I think if you are, if you're a road team in this situation and you're like, we want another chance to play at home, we want more opportunities, then go win. Yeah. Like if you have a problem with it, win game 1 and take control of the series, right? That's what I think about it. I think the 3-game series to start the playoffs is electric. I think most people, most casual fans, when you find out the playoffs are going on, you're like, oh, it's the wild card already? And then it's already almost over, and you can just roll right into the stuff that really matters.
Right, and I think that's what happens with casual fans is they do get interested in the playoffs right away, but they haven't really been paying attention that much. As Candace says, once the playoff starts, everyone is 0-0. So there's that factor, right? And I do believe a team playing well and getting hot is a big factor. The Diamondbacks did play extremely well in the month of September. I think that the way that they just kind of fizzled out with 5 losses to end the season, it's hard for me to imagine that particular team going in and doing anything in the playoffs. But, again, I also was a skeptic when they made the playoffs in 2023. So much so, Kevin, that I made vacation plans 2 weeks out. It was like, I'm going to Vegas, baby. And as you know, as you have been told and are well witness to, I had to change those plans. And I was happy to do so. It's just that I think that reinforces how little faith I had that the Diamondbacks were going to advance past the Brewers and take on the Dodgers, let alone did I think that once they faced off with the Dodgers that they would have handled them the way they did. We made the joke about it yesterday, but this is all our fault. The Diamondbacks did this to the Dodgers. They smacked them in the mouth so hard that they went out and were like, no, we're getting everybody. We're going to get everybody is what we're going to do. We're going to ruin baseball for you because you beat us in the playoffs. But
real quick, Derek, in that vein of the question you asked me earlier about, when's the last time a division opponent did something good for you?
Yeah.
That Red Sox-Yankees series, I feel like playoff rivalry series, is there anything better than that, right? Getting like Yankees-Mets or like Red Sox-Yankees or like Cardinals-Cubs.
Especially this high of stakes, right? Like where it's a 3-game series, so it's not really different than what you experienced during the season. But the stakes couldn't be higher. A literal elimination game here, a literal elimination series. And you're right. Like Rob Manfred must not have been able to sleep. He must have been so giddy about the fact that the Red Sox and the Yankees matched up in the first round. It must have been like Christmas morning for him. He decorated his house in Red Sox and Yankees decorations and everything. Like big moment for Major League Baseball. But that's because, again, this is the kind of fun that could be had. Also, again, we talked about it yesterday, but the dichotomy of the Dodgers facing off against the Reds, essentially the biggest payroll in baseball against one of the smallest payrolls in all of baseball, right? It's crazy. There's a nearly a $400 million difference between those two payrolls. And, of course the Dodgers are going to win, but what if they don't? What if the Reds find a way to beat them? And I mean, again, it just says a lot for how random baseball could be. And reinforces why Jesse hates this many teams making it into the playoffs, because anything can happen. Anybody could be eliminated, especially here first in that first 3-game series. I still like John Boy's proposal of adding more teams in. That was his proposal with the expansion of Major League Baseball, with adding additional 2 teams through expansion, adding it so that there are an additional teams that make it, but having the very first round be 1-game series and then the next round be a 3-game series. This allows it to still move along quickly. And again, one thing I underestimated about that old playoff format was how exciting those games were for those 1-game wild card games. We got to experience one of them against the Rockies, and it was one of the most exciting moments in Diamondbacks history. I still, have a lock of Archie Bradley's beard because of it, right? So there's that. But there's also the fact that, baseball, one of the things that people constantly have a problem with baseball that aren't fans of the game is just in general how long things take. The excitement of having that 1-game playoff game feels like it just generates a lot of excitement right out of the gate. People are engaged and they're like, oh wow, this is high stakes right away. So I don't hate that, but I really do like the 3-game format, and I don't want them to make it longer. So I'm fine with the 3-game format. I think it makes a lot of sense. I did think it was silly that, again, so many series in baseball come down to a 3-game series and they reduced it down to a 1-game playoff. That just always kind of felt weird for me. But speaking of eliminations, more managers have been fired in baseball, Kevin. The Atlanta Braves have parted ways with Brian Snitker. I guess you couldn't really say fired. None of these are firings, and that's the way that sometimes sports works out. We're just amicably splitting up. We just both decided that we were growing in different directions. One of those weird Facebook posts from your friends that gets divorced. But the Atlanta Braves have parted ways with Brian Snitker. His contract has expired, and the Braves will not be bringing him back. Meanwhile, the Colorado Rockies announced today that Bill Schmidt has stepped down from his role as general manager, and the Rockies just continue to be a mess, quite frankly. And this might be good for them because maybe that organization needs some new leadership, but I kind of feel, based on what I've been told by Rockies fans, that it comes down to ownership. It really does. And it's a weird situation there. I saw some Diamondbacks fans now starting to blame Ken Kendrick here for the Diamondbacks situation, mostly because fans feel like the Diamondbacks should have parted ways with Torey Lovullo. But we've talked about a lot of managers being fired. Now, that does mean that there's a lot of managers available on the market due to them no longer returning to their teams. But that also means that a lot of the viable candidates, if you're trying to upgrade your manager to maybe a different point of view, maybe a younger manager, something like that, a lot of those guys are going to be interviewing for these other positions, and it would be very difficult this offseason for the Diamondbacks to be in the running, in the pool against some of these other teams that are also looking for new managers in the dugout, right? So I feel like this is another reason why it's good that the Diamondbacks won't be entering this managerial search, this pool of teams looking for a new manager this offseason.
I trust your wisdom on the managerial front, but I had a different question for you, Derek, and not to throw you off your game here, or put you on the spot. But can Ken Kendrick win with the fans outside of just winning a World Series every year? Because when the Diamondbacks make the World Series, right, somewhat unexpected and kind of a heroic fashion in a way, right? Then the next offseason, it's, well, he doesn't spend enough. He doesn't want to invest in the team. Yeah. This team was just in the World Series, and you're not going to invest? And then Ken Kendrick invests. And now that did not work out. And now it's Ken Kendrick can't manage the staff, and Ken Kendrick should get rid of Torey Lovullo. So I feel like, and I understand the fire Torey crowd. I'm not trying to be like a Torey apologist right now. That's, no one's really in the position to do that. But I think Ken Kendrick, though, I feel like he's done what you wanted him to do at least this season. And I feel like it's unfair to be like, well, yeah, you spent, but now Torey's still here, and I'm unhappy about that, and now that's your fault.
Yeah, well, you could say something similar about Torey as a manager, right? At the end of the day, it's not Torey out there on the mound throwing pitches, nor is it Torey who is supplying the team with the talent that, quite frankly, was underwhelming and underexperienced. That is no knock. We are going to talk about 5 guys who made their debut for this team this year and were instantly injected into high leverage situations that, quite frankly, I feel are unfair, but were extremely valuable to their development and for them to learn that you can go out there and get nicked up, as Torey likes to say, and you're not gonna die. It's not the end of the world. You could post a 6 ERA and it's fine because we don't really care about the results as much as we care about getting a lot of those young arms, especially guys that they acquired at the trade deadline, in there into games to get major league experience. It was valuable from the perspective that the Diamondbacks were in the race right up until the end. So all of those games were meaningful. They weren't just thrown into meaningless, junk time kind of situations, but they were also put into situations where they looked up and they were facing some of the best guys in baseball, right? So I don't really feel like that's Torey's fault, but Torey gets a lot of the blame for the wins and losses. Mike Hazen now gets blamed for not parting ways with Torey, and now Ken Kendrick has gotten blamed for not parting ways with both Torey and Mike Hazen, right? To be fair, those guys are good managers. Mike Hazen is a great GM. I would let him general manage my life. And Torey, I can't say anything bad about, because me and Damon have Sunday dinners over at Torey's house, and they're delicious. And I will never, ever utter a bad word about that man. No, I joke. But overall, here it's a factor of, to answer your question, Ken Kendrick has actually not received any criticism like he has in the past, because there was criticism towards him in previous seasons about him being cheap and not spending. And now that's not the case, because fans see that this team went out there. They added the best available pitching arm during the 2023 offseason. That didn't work out. Jordan Montgomery was bad, and then he got injured, and then he was really injured. Then you also had Corbin Burns, who was very good, and they added once again in the 2024 offseason the best available pitching arm on the market, and that didn't work out due to injury again. It's bad luck. I know Mike won't admit it's bad luck, but it's bad luck. It's really bad luck. It feels like when the team does open up their pocketbook and spend, it doesn't seem to work out in the best ways. And even some of the moves weren't great. Like we said the other day during Mailbag Monday, the Josh Naylor trade doesn't really look great now, considering that the Diamondbacks just got a few months of Josh Naylor for giving up the talent that they gave up, right? But it's just interesting, and I think it's a bad time to be looking for a manager. So I think it's another reason why letting Torey Lovullo finish out his contract in 2026 makes a lot of sense. And I think, again, the Diamondbacks are going to have a lot of changes that they're going to need to make in order to put a competitive team out on the field next year. That's another thing, is Ken Kendrick made some comments, which we will discuss, about, the payroll not being as big as it was in 2025. And again, Mike Hazen also responded to that, and we'll have video of that here shortly. But I'm just, again, I think these are all reasons why, as much as fans want to still be upset that Torey Lovullo is going to manage this team in 2026, they feel like nothing is going to change with this team. And I don't think that's the case. I really don't. I just think that the Diamondbacks didn't have the personnel, and quite frankly, things happened to them at a time where they didn't have the ability to go up and pick up, the replacement players because of when it happened during the season. So I will also say this, though. Let's see. Deborah says in the chat, there's one more season on Lovullo contract, perhaps not the right time. She also said Lovullo was there when we went to the World Series in 2023. And I feel like that run has run its course as far as giving Torey time, right? Especially considering when you look across the dugout at Bruce Bochy, who won that World Series and now is no longer the manager of the Texas Rangers. So it's another team that's in that pool, that mix, to try to find themselves a new manager. And I'm just thankful that the Diamondbacks aren't part of that. I don't know what this means for 2026 and beyond, nor does, or beyond 2026, I should say, but nor does a lot of people, due to the uncertainty of baseball even being played in 2027. So it feels like, again, that this is the right time to let Torey finish out his contract. And outside of him having an extraordinary season with this team that no one expects them to have, that most likely will be the end of his tenure here. He seems at peace with it, and overall, it feels like, again, it's going to be a very difficult task for him in 2026 to find a way to have an extraordinary season. But should they find a way to do that, I believe talking extension and him being here beyond that is on the table, and rightfully so. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side of this break, we're going to talk about a Cleveland Guardians rookie making his debut in today's game right now as we speak, and some Diamondbacks rookies that made their debuts in what was basically a postseason race all through the month of August and September. We're going to do that on the other side of this break. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. All right, Phoenix. Well, it's the offseason, and I know we all need some peace. I know we still might need to get over this excruciating Diamondbacks 2025 season that ends with a record of 80-82, and a great way to do so is at Zen Leaf dispensaries. Zen Leaf is your go-to spot for cannabis and also to recuperate from being an Arizona sports fan. They have flower, they have vapes, they have edibles, everything you're looking for, all from the brands you trust. They also have locations all across the valley, including Chandler, Gilbert, North Phoenix, and more. It's easy to swing by before kickoff or order online for express pickup post-workout. Let me tell you, make sure to do that. The express pickup is the way to go. You're in and out because, again, Zen Leaf, very popular. You never know what kind of line there's going to be. And if you be smart about it, just like picking up food and groceries. We have all these abilities to do all this stuff. Call in get your order in online. That way you can get express checkout, and you can use our code of ZenPHNX for 50% off. That's right, 50% off your first order just for listening. You can only use it once, so make sure to stock up with an amazing discount, whether you've been around the block or you're trying something for the first time. The Zen Leaf crew will make sure you leave with exactly what you need. And don't forget, for a limited time, use that promo code once again of ZenPHNX that gets you 50% off a one-time purchase. Zen Leaf, great weed, great service every time. Also, make sure to check out Bet365. Of course, it's never ordinary over there at Bet365. Those guys are crazy. They stream 780,000 events each year, which most people don't think of on their wonderful app. They also pioneered live in-game betting, and they have early payout offers across Major League Baseball and NFL right now. Of course, with the early payout offer, you are a winner if your team goes ahead by 5 runs with an instant payout offer on straight bets and parlay selections, which will be marked as winners. I say that because the Dodgers bullpen is trash, and they're a good team to maybe get bets in on, because regardless of the outcome of the game, you're still a winner once they get up by 5 runs. So also tons of offers on football, including a $10 safety net bet offer for Thursday night football. They also have place a $10 bet on a first touchdown score, and you can get a split of their $365,000 jackpot in bonus bets if your player happens to score the final touchdown of the game. The payable is regardless of if your touchdown scorer bet wins or loses, and that is the Sunday night jackpot. Also, don't miss out on the 50% super profit boost tokens on same game parlays for Monday Night Football. All of this is happening over there at Bet365. New customers right now can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Sign up, use that code of PHNX365 when you do. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 or more to get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, players, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem wants help, call on Next Step, text Next Step to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Let's see. Mordecai in the chat asks for Mercury coverage.
Kevin, got it.
We can just be a Mercury podcast. I would do that.
You could hop on the Mercury pod tomorrow.
Well, no, I know that's fine, but we could just have extra Mercury podcasts because I want to talk about a winning playoff team, and they are in the finals, and that's an exciting team to be watching. By the way, pay attention to that team. That team deserves your love. Not only do they deserve your love, but my God, I cannot believe the amount of people that have said the atmosphere there for game 3 was electric, was more electric than anything they've ever experienced with any Suns game, any playoff game in that building. So what do we call the Merc Nation?
The X Factor.
The X Factor.
Yeah, they're the X Factor.
Crazy. That's behind me. It's right there on the thing. All right. Well,
real quick though.
Yeah.
I was calling them the pride of the Valley. Thoughts on that?
I like that. They are the pride of the Valley.
I love that.
Yeah.
I also have an update for you. I believe it's at a commercial right now, but I believe it's still 1st and 3rd with 1 out in the Guardians-Tigers game.
Are they still 1-1?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. It's also exciting the Guardians' number 2 prospect, Chase DeLauter, I think that's how you say his name, is making his debut in today's pivotal game too. That's fun. That's exciting. He is the 6th prospect in Major League history to make his MLB debut in the postseason. Can you imagine that? Kevin, imagine making your debut on the biggest stage in baseball. No pressure at all. Just go out there and get us a win, Rook, right? It's similar to what we do around here, hey, welcome to PHNX. You're going live in like 15 minutes. Get in there and start producing, pal.
No, literally, like, you don't even know where catering is. You don't know who your personal, like, trainer is yet with the big league squad, and you're just shipped out there, and you're like, hey, go help us win a playoff game, a pivotal game on the road if you must.
I love the phrase ignorance is bliss sometimes, because I really do feel like that's the case with rookies. You don't know any better. And I mean, honestly, sometimes the moment consumes you, it overwhelms you. But for the most part, if you just go up and you're just like, all right, I'm just treating this like we're playing baseball. And that's what, we heard about Diamondbacks rookies a lot. Like, yeah, that's Shohei Ohtani that you're facing in the 7th inning, but it's really just a guy in a jersey with a bat in his hand. So go throw the ball like you know how to do and get the job done. And that was totally the case this year for Diamondbacks rookies. Like, the Diamondbacks, the Guardians have their rookie making his debut today, but you could say that the Diamondbacks have been doing this to their rookies since August 1st. The Diamondbacks have been fighting for their playoff lives since August 1st. And much like what the Guardians are doing today, they put their own rookies into these huge moments this season. I mean, all of these guys made their debuts this year. A lot of them were acquired via trades during the trade deadline and were pieces that were moved over here. And it didn't take very long for them to be instantly thrown into the fire and to see what they're made of. And I mean, again, there's a lot of people disappointed with this season, and I understand that. I truly understand the disappointment level with how this season went. But you probably couldn't have asked for a better situation to throw these rookies into, to really see what they're made of and to see where they're at in their development, which guys could handle it, which guys couldn't. I mean, there's all sorts of guys that made their debut for the Diamondbacks this season that pitched in big moments and had had that moment, had a moment. Taylor Rashi, other guys, but there were 5 rookies that made their debut that, quite frankly, next season could have a huge impact on this team's success and could be a big part, especially of the bullpen or a part of the starting lineup. I mean, guys like Brandon Garcia, Juan Burgos, Superbad, Andrew Hoffman, Tyler Locklear, they were all minor league prospects acquired at the trade deadline that came to this team. They may have made their debut, may have had played a few games at a major league level, but still qualify as rookies that were then thrust into some pretty high leverage situations. Tyler Locklear was put into the everyday starting lineup until he was injured. You also had a number of arms that went out there and just, had an amazing season for this team. Their numbers don't reflect that. And we are going to talk about their numbers because, that's a part of this, is that that there was very small sample size. And a lot of these guys didn't get a chance for things to even out for them. But one bad outing shows how it can balloon your ERA, putting up 5 earned runs in a game, suddenly change things for these guys. But I don't think that changes their value to this team going beyond the season. Yes, their numbers look ugly for this year, but I do think that a lot of them made a lot of big steps forward, and that progression was only made due to the fact that they were playing at a major league level, receiving major league coaching, and, just getting this valuable experience that, quite frankly, the Diamondbacks wouldn't have been able to afford to give them if they had better options, but they didn't. It was just like, here you go. This is what you have. Go throw Brandon Garcia out there in the 8th inning. Go throw Brandon Garcia out there in the 10th inning against the Dodgers. Oh, and then throw him back out there in the 11th inning, by the way. You had Phillip Abner. He went from pitching in High A Hillsboro to facing Shohei Ohtani in the biggest game of the year all over the course of one season. That's crazy. Yeah, he ends the season with a 4.91 ERA. He had 3 2/3 innings pitched of relief this year. He had 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, right? The end numbers are not going to overwhelm you again for any of these guys. But at the same time, it's the efforts that they gave, it's what they did for this team, and it's the improvements that we saw out of them. Brandon Garcia had a shaky start when he came up, right? But he quickly turned into what I would call a certified G and a bona fide stud. And quite frankly, as we've researched, you cannot teach that. He had a 7-game stretch in September where he did not allow an earned run and only gave up 6 hits over 6 2/3 innings pitched. And oh yeah, Those 6 2/3 innings pitched in those 6 games were against some of the best teams in baseball. Welcome to the big leagues, kid. Go out there and get us some outs, right? Same thing with Andrew Hoffman. Andrew Hoffman's car spent more time in Reno this year than he did. Super bad, as I love to call him. He got injured and he didn't give a chance. He didn't get a chance, but he was incredible right away. And it caused Torey to just be like, well, you're going out there. You're our new 8th inning guy. You're our new setup man. You just got here to the major leagues for like a cup of coffee, but you're already setting up for a major league bullpen, right? A couple of other names I think will have a huge impact. And again, Hoffman, 6 ERA in 12 innings pitched with a 2.00 whip. Awful. Not great. None of these numbers are going to be great, but again, because it was in a time where it was valuable, but again, the Diamondbacks didn't really have any other choice. It gave these guys experience that you just can't put a price on. You cannot put a price on putting these guys into these high leverage situations and allow them to understand that they're not going to lose their jobs by going out there and not being able to strike the Dodgers out, go 1, 2, 3 in a big game against the Dodgers, right? That's not what this team, I don't think that's what Torey expects them to do. I mean, he would love it if they did, and he's hoping for it. His fingers are crossed, his toes are crossed. But in all reality, what you're hoping for is these guys to, in the moment, gain invaluable experience about facing a foe that is legendary. You're sitting there on the mound against, Ohtani, and you got a guy like Philip Abner who has ice water in his veins, right? So those are the guys that you feel like as they continue to develop, you are going to see them get trusted more and more, and you're going to see them become a part of this bullpen that Mike Hazen somehow has to figure out what to do with during this offseason. And again, Mike Hazen does not have a lot of money to spend here, but a couple of other names. Juan Burgos is another guy I think that's going to develop for this team nicely. He ends the year with a 6.08 ERA and 13.1 innings pitched, but he's another guy that looks like he has the makeup. Not a very big guy, but a guy that I feel like has the makeup to be, a big arm for them out of the bullpen. And then last but not least, Tyler Locklear. Lord knows what the Diamondbacks are going to do with their first base situation. I hope they have a first baseman next year. That would be great. Pete Alonso is available. I don't know if you guys have heard that. Maybe we go spend all of our money on him. No, I'm joking. Don't do that. Please don't do that. But Tyler Locklear, meanwhile, made some big steps forward, I think, offensively, defensively. He still has a lot of work to do. He ends the season slashing 175, 267, 262 with a 529 OPS and 103 at bats. He had 3 home runs, 6 RBI. He walked 10 times, unfortunately struck out 43 times. So these guys do have a big responsibility now, because much like Jordan Lawler, who will also be a part of this team next year and be a big part of their success, hopefully, they are not going to be evaluated after what happened at the second half of the season as prospects any longer. These guys will be evaluated as big leaguers, and that requires them to make that step forward this offseason and start producing on a more consistent basis. And that goes for the pitchers and for the position players like Tyler Locklear and Jordan Lawler. Jordan Lawler's no rookie, but still, again, another guy that kind of made his official debut this year, where he kind of came up and stuck around, and it looks like he will stick around for the foreseeable future and will be evaluated as a big leaguer. He slashed 182, 247, 288 with a 545 OPS. It's gross. It's stinky. It's not good, right? But it means that he did take a big leap forward from having a 0.000 batting average and not being able to hit a breaking ball. We saw him deliver in some big moments, including a game-winning hit, if you want to call what that was, a game-winning hit that went like 45 feet. But you just felt like he did make some vast improvements with his bat. Besides his bat, his defense has been something that he's working on. You felt like the Diamondbacks didn't really trust him defensively over there at third base. I will say this about Jordan Lawler from a personal perspective, and that is that every single day when I came to the yard, when Jordan Lawler was on the major league roster, he was the first and only guy I saw out there working on his defense with Sean Larkin and Tim Bogard on the field. Every single time I got to Chase Field. We arrive at Chase Field at 2 p.m. typically. Media availability with the players is usually at like 2:30, and then we talk to Torey at 3:30. And that is, again, for a 6:40 start. So that is 4.5 hours plus before the game when we arrive at Chase Field. And when I get there, Jordan Lawler is already on the field working on his defense. The guy's a dog. He wants to be here at a major league level, and he wants to do everything he can to improve himself. Whether that's going to translate over to him actually being, good defensively over there, it remains to be seen. I have hope, and I have more than hope. I feel like what we're seeing is a guy transforming into a big leaguer and working his way to making himself into a very valuable baseball player for this team. They need it out of him. They really do. There are too many positional gaps for this team next season, and they really could use Jordan Lawler to be a consistent everyday third baseman for them over there so that they can play Blaze Alexander elsewhere, perhaps in the outfield, and fill that hole left by Lourdes Gurriel's injury. So these things would all help this team vastly, to not have to spend more money than they're going to this offseason. But we are going to talk on the other side of this break about the money that Mike Hazen has to spend, and also what his priorities are going to be with spending that money this offseason. I did want to say, though, Kevin, I know you didn't watch the Diamondbacks consistently, especially once you beat me up and left the show, but what do you feel like it's unjust of what the Diamondbacks did to their rookies to see those young guys put into these situations? Like I said, Brandon Garcia put into the 10th inning and then brought back out for the 11th inning in a tie baseball game against the Dodgers that could essentially decide the Diamondbacks season. Is that a lot to ask, or is that kind of like what I was alluding to, a very valuable experience for him to have on a season where most likely you weren't going to end up making the playoffs anyway?
I think it's both. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer,
sure,
but I think it's little column A, little column B, right? I think it is great experience for a rookie to have, but I think it also speaks to some of the issues you've had all season. There's a lot of context as to why you're relying on a rookie in that kind of a spot, but I think relying on a rookie in that kind of a spot is kind of a red flag. You don't have guys that you can rely on to go to in that spot. You're like, well, let's call up the rookie, see what they got. See what they got. Like you should have someone who they have, or what they have rather. But I do think it's great experience. If you can be a rookie and you can show your mettle, so to speak, in that spot, I think it's great. So I do think it's a little bit of both, Derek, honestly.
They didn't have a choice. You know what I mean? And again, that's not a Torey situation. That's a Mike Hazen situation. Torey was consistently criticized for his usage of the bullpen, but who do you go to? Who do you go to when you look at the Diamondbacks 40-man roster? When you look at where they're currently at and what they're left with? I mean, I still didn't like it, but Mike Hazen referred to this roster as a bad roster, right? I don't love that because I don't love the look for that for the young players and hearing themselves referred to as a bad roster, but I feel like it's straightforward and truthful about what this Diamondbacks had and what they were able to do. I mean, I guess that again lends to what they were able to do here down the stretch to keep themselves in the playoff hunt up until the final weekend. However, a lot of it required them to rely on some of these guys and kind of say, I don't care about how you feel in this moment. You're going to go out there and you're going to pitch in this moment. We're going to see what you're made of. And I think that we saw what a few guys like Abner and Garcia were made of.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like you said, it's a great moment to see exactly what you have in these young players. But to speak to what Hazen said, I do think that it's a rough look. I won't say it's a bad look, but it's a rough look. If you're a player on the team and you're fighting and you're sacrificing a lot to be and try to pursue and be better every day, and then for your GM who's brought you here, so to speak, as well, to look at the roster that he's assembled and been like, it's bad.
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't really help, but I also think that, like you've alluded to on this podcast many times, Mike Hazen usually has a great relationship with his players. So I don't think that it's something that he would say without having like one-on-one conversations about, hey, I don't think you're a bad player, but right now this compilation of skill sets that we have, they're not meshing, and that makes it a bad roster. Right. You can be good players that can't play well together, and what does that make you? A bad team, right? Full of good players. So.
Right. It would be like if Mike Hazen assessed this podcast. And he was like, look, we're trying. We're going out there. We don't have the personnel we used to, right? We lost some bodies, and unfortunately, they were key members of this staff. But, we're going to go give it our all. And we're going to do it every day during the offseason, too. I wouldn't get my feelings hurt about it. Maybe a little bit. Like, I'd be like, wasn't what it used to be. Yikes. But I would be like, he's right. He's right. What can I say? We had some losses, but all right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to hear from Mike Hazen about what this team is going to do during the offseason and what their priorities are going to be in targeting. Mostly, it sounds like they love the defense. They saw a lot of praise come in Blaze's way. So don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondbacks show. Well, the offseason is made for pure edibles. And of course, especially if you are a Diamondbacks fan, you want to still get over this loss. There's some wonderful, wonderful candies from our friend at Pure Edibles, which is a full-fledged candy company. They offer more than just gummies. They offer hard candies, chews, soft candies. They offer their version of Starbursts that they call Kicks, and so much more, including their brand new collab with Mother Road Brewery, which is one of my favorite breweries in this state. They also make one of the greatest IPAs ever made, Tower Station IPA. Well, right now you can get two of your favorite things, or at least two of my favorite things, intertwined into one with the brand new Noble Road Tower Station IPA all in one. It's happy hour all the time with the Tower Station IPA all in one. This new offering captures the crisp citrus piney hops of Arizona's favorite IPA, but with a smooth THC twist all in one device. No pouring, no waiting, just a good tasting high whenever you want it. You can get this right now at dispensaries all across Arizona. You can also find yourself some pure edible products from one of over 130 dispensaries across this fine state. Also, speaking of the state of Arizona, Rally House is the place for Arizona sports fans to go to for all of your favorite local Arizona sports gear. With tens of thousands of products to shop from, you're almost guaranteed to find something new, unique, and that matches your game day vibe every time you go out to Rally House. Shop their locations in Tempe, Mesa, and Glendale today. And of course, check out their full collection online. They have everything you need. It doesn't matter if it's drinkware, signage, coolers. You need stuff to upgrade your house. You need to upgrade your tailgate game. You need baby's diapers with the Suns logo on it. That might be fitting. I don't know. I don't really want to get into the weeds on that one, but they got it. They got it covered. Sunscreen with the Dbacks logo on it. It doesn't matter. Find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at rallyhouse.com today. And the Diamondbacks are getting ready to approach the offseason. We are going to do a lot of breakdowns on this podcast. We are going to give out our player grades for every player because why not? We have plenty of time to do so. We're also going to break down the Diamondbacks offseason needs. And we already had a question on Mailbag Monday about what we felt like the Diamondbacks needed to do as far as priorities on assessing their offseason needs. Again, we got some more from Mike Hazen from yesterday's media availability on exactly what the Diamondbacks will be targeting. Here's what Mike Hazen had to say about that.
Yeah, I look back on trying to figure out why that team played as well as it did, and some of it we just played better baseball. I do think on the whole our defense was considerably different in the second half. I do think that helped smooth out the pitching that we were all very frustrated by in the first half of the season. And I think that's probably something that I'm going to look to lean into a little bit more aggressively into the offseason. I think ensuring that our defense at all 8 positions is where we need it to be on a given. And there's going to be nights that it's not going to be ideal necessarily, or we're going for an offensive approach. But I do think we have a bunch of young, athletic, dynamic players that are good defenders that can impact the game on that side. And I do think, our strategy offensively, I think we've led baseball in runs for the last couple of years and at various points in time. Certainly a top 5 offense over that time frame. I think we're capable of having a little less maybe thunder in the middle of the lineup if we're offsetting that with a much better defensive team. I think as much as we were all complaining about the results of the pitching staff in the first half, it was very difficult for me to tease out where the pitching wasn't up to par and where the defense was below. And those things run in combination with each other. When we don't make plays that I look at what Blaze did really in the second half. I mean, the amount of plays that Blaze made to get us out of innings that in the first half turned into a dumpster fire out on the field. And we're giving up a 6-run inning, and we're just running back into the dugout, and nobody thinks anything of it. Oh, we put up another 0. Well, we put up another 0 because Blaze shut it all down. And we have good defenders all over the place, and we can lean into that more aggressively. And I do think that's something that I take away from this second half. I don't think that the pitching staff in aggregate was more talented than the first half pitching staff. I think the defense was that much better in the second half.
That's a great assessment, especially his assessment of it being a dumpster fire over there during the first half. Like, honestly, that's no attack on Gino or any of the guys that left, but Josh Naylor did not play a good first base. And I felt like it got better as the season went on, but we had a lot of problems with infield. We had a lot of problems with Gino missing balls that, quite frankly, they weren't errors, right? But what Mike Hazen is alluding to there is that Blaze was able to make highlight reel defensive play after highlight reel defensive play. He was incredible. He was a game changer over there, as are many young players at times. And that was the trade-off with Gino, is based on his age. You weren't going to see Gino necessarily making those plays as often as someone like Blaze. It's not to say that Gino wasn't capable of that, because he absolutely was. However, you just felt like this team got a big injection of enthusiasm and energy when Blaze came up and started playing third base. And a lot of that came from those type of plays that he made. And again, there were a lot of mistakes made early on, a lot of mistakes made by Geraldo Perdomo, who after the season confessed regrets about his defense and wished that he had played better this year, which is incredible considering what he gave this team this season and what he was to this team. But everybody has ways that they can get better. Corbin Carroll has, some things with his base running there that we wish we got to see more, some more stolen bases. However, he just hits dingers now. So he gets on third a lot. So he just can't steal bases as often. Candace says Tony Perez-Chica made that infield defense. He sure did. But I will say that, to not disrespect Sean Larkin too much, he was not very good as a third base coach, but it felt like things turned around drastically once he was able to focus on the infield defense and let Tim handle third base. Also, they worked together in tandem to coach these guys on the infield defense. So I don't know if Sean Larkin will return. There was no updates from Torey in regards to if there will be changes to his coaching staff, but I did feel like they got a big upgrade over there from Tim Bogar, and I think that was another reason why this team improved in the second half. Obviously, making those tough decisions and as the season went on is the only reason why this team became what it became, right? But they have a lot of, they're going to have a lot of holes to fill. And Mike Hazen commented on essentially Ken Kendrick saying that this team will not have as much money to spend this offseason. He was asked if he would still be able to accomplish what he needs to do in order to make this a competitive team. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I don't care about the payroll. Although I think I've been fairly consistent with that for 10 years. I don't care what the number is. What we have, we'll figure it out. We have a lot of good young players. We have a lot of good young minor league players that all had really good years. So we traded off players at the deadline and picked up 9 new players. We should have access in the trade market to make improvements to this roster without money. And, there's ways for us to move things around to free up where we may need to supplement. Yes, having those specific 4 guys on the IL to start the season is not going to be ideal. We are expecting all of them back, which could be a big boost for us, moving in through the season, picking up Corbin Burns in the middle of the season, wherever Gurriel lands back in, the 2 relievers, those should be additions that if we can put the roster together at the beginning of the year and hold our own, we could be looking at a situation where we're adding impact talent as we move through the season, which could be a huge plus for us. We will find ways to improve this roster going into the offseason for sure. I don't think on the whole, building a better defensive club comes at as high a cost as having to put together a huge offensive club. The starting pitching is going to be something we're going to need to focus in on going into the offseason for sure. That's probably the number one area outside of building the bullpen again that we're going to have to focus in on.
I mean, overall, the trades that were made were very effective for this team and are going to be a big way they're going to make up that gap next year. Those guys getting experience, as we just discussed a little while ago, is a big part of that, getting them fast-tracked to be ready for 2026. And yes, it is Ladies' Day in the chat, so hello, ladies. Good to have you here. But when you take a look at the trades that were made by the Diamondbacks, right? You have they got Cole Drake, which is now their top pitching prospect, and they got them They got Cole Drake along with Mitch Bratt and David Hageman, all great pitching prospects in exchange for Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly, who's now a free agent and a Texas Rangers team who misses the playoffs. Meanwhile, they traded Shelby Miller and Jordan Montgomery for cash considerations, and Shelby Miller lands on the IL. He will have Tommy John surgery. Jordan Montgomery was going to be off the roster at the end of the year, so the Diamondbacks get some money back for him. So overall, a lot of their trades made. They traded Randall Grichuk to the Royals, and the Royals did not make the playoffs either. A lot of the teams that they traded their players away to had a similar fate as the Diamondbacks, missing the postseason. And in the end, the Diamondbacks were able to add some very valuable young players to their system in exchange for players that most likely were going to walk at the end of the year. And if they aren't going to walk, then the Diamondbacks could still theoretically bring them back, right? Merrill Kelly could still be a big part of this team. He could still come back and help solve this problem that the Diamondbacks have with their two, they right now they have a gap in their starting rotation that's 2 pitchers deep. They need to figure out how they're going to replace 2 starting pitchers in their lineup should Zach Gallen turn down their qualifying offer. So maybe Merrill and Zach do return, but I just still feel like that's a bit of a pipe dream, right? I feel like realistically they're going to have to figure some other cheaper options out. Merrill Kelly might be that cheaper option, but I doubt Zach Gallen will be. Meanwhile, in regards to what he said about the defense, the Diamondbacks end the season with 10 outs above average. That ties them with the Phillies for 11th in Major League Baseball. Not horrible, but still not what this team is, and is known for, right? When you talk about Diamondbacks baseball, what their DNA is, it is defense. And again, they also ended the season 11th in fielding run value. That's at 12 above average. What that takes into consideration is a lot of defensive metrics, including throwing, blocking, framing, arms, and range. We know that their arms are terrible, but McCann helped a lot with the blocking and the framing. Their range is incredible because of how good their defenders are. And they're throwing, again, okay, but still a lot of work to be done. And again, there are certain guys that we would love to see step up in 2026 because, quite frankly, we expect that out of them. I think Gabriel Moreno is one of those guys that, with the way that the season ended, there's a lot of questions about his play calling behind the plate and his value as a catcher to this team. So that is something that I think will need a lot of work. We want to see Gabby back there. We want Moreno to be the catcher of the future for this team. However, the being behind the plate part, that's fairly important. I do think that I do hope deep down inside that the Diamondbacks figure out a way to bring James McCann back. His value to this team seemed to be off the charts, and quite frankly, I feel like it's an unfair advantage because he seems to be just an additional coach as well as a player. So sexy man Jimmy McCann needs to be a part of this roster in 2026. But of course, we do want you guys, speaking of joining rosters, we want you guys to join our friends out at Rally House. We're going to be out there shopping, having a good time this Friday, October 3rd at 4:30. We're going to be having a special live PHNX Cardinals show hosted by our friends at Rally House. We'll be at their West Valley location in Glendale, just a stone's throw away from State Farm Stadium, 2 days before the Cardinals hopefully smash the Tennessee Titans into little overall pieces. They're going to pick off Cam Ward at least 3 times in that game and maybe have 5 sacks. There's my prediction for that game. But
because what are the Titans?
Huh?
Because what are the Titans? They're ass.
Wow.
No, that's what Cam Ward said himself.
Oh, that's what he said?
I'll show you that video after the show.
I'm going to have to see that show, but I mean, that seems like a fair assessment. And for Cam Ward, of all people, to be saying that is kind of wild. I know his offensive line is terrible, but so is he. Tony Pollard deserves better, by the way. Let's trade him out of there to a team that can help my fantasy football team win. But speaking of football, I am no expert, but the experts will be out there. See Bo and Johnny in person. Plus, you'll have a chance to win. We'll be giving away 5 $50 Rally House gift cards to our fans in attendance. So the best duo in sports, got to be Rally House and PHNX. So make sure to join us for that on October 3rd. At 4:30 p.m. My favorite part about this ad read is they said October 3rd, and then they put a little TH next to it. So is it October 5th? Is that what it is? Is it supposed to be the 30th? I got to call out when people make mistakes on my stuff. You guys don't get to see it, but I need you to know. All right, well, it is MLB postseason bracket time. Kevin, let's take a look. We haven't had a chance to look at this beautiful bracket that we got here for the postseason. And of course, we don't really care. People don't care. People don't care. People have given up on baseball. I know a lot of you probably are just waiting until the World Series takes place. But here where we at. Here is where we currently are at, pending the outcome of today's games. Right now, we got ourselves a lot of fun going on here.
2-1 Guardians right now, bottom of the 8th.
Ooh, 2-1 Guardians. The Guardians could send that one to a third game against the Tigers, which is kind of wild considering what the Guardians kind of did there in general to the Tigers, like coming up and stealing the division title from them out of nowhere at the end of the season. But that's what 162 games is all about. We got the Reds versus the Dodgers here, and the winner of that game goes on to take on the Phillies. And then I'm conflicted because that's a real, like, can both teams lose situation for me there. Can they eliminate each other and just have the winner of the other bracket go on? I'm not sure. I also very much don't like the Brewers either, so that's why we're ride or dying right now with the Chicago Cubs. And I know that's something that this man could not get on the same page with, so I don't expect him to do that. The Cubs right now are down 1-0 to the San Diego Padres, so that's something to keep an eye on.
Guardians score another one.
Oh, they're up 3-1 now?
3-1 with another man on second.
That's
one out.
That's tough. It's the bottom of the 8th. And again, I don't know, though. Guardians bullpen, not as good as it used to be, thanks to Emmanuel Clase being a complete moron. What motivation do you have as a baseball player that makes millions upon millions of dollars of doing anything with your money, but besides like spending it, leaving it at a bank, making more of it? I don't know. I wouldn't be gambling it, that's for sure, but at least allegedly. I don't know what's going on there with Clase. But anyway, Kevin, let's throw this bracket back up. There's a lot of gross scenarios here. We obviously, as we've stated in the past, are a Mariners podcast now. This is what we are, the Sea Snakes, and we want to see the Mariners advance once they take on the winner of this Guardians-Tigers series. But realistically, looking at this bracket, who do you think? Because I mean, I feel like this is wide open, especially like the Dodgers bullpen being exposed the way they were in that blowout, even though it was a blowout win, makes me really doubt that they might even be able to make it past the Phillies.
Honestly, I'm just thinking about what the nightmare scenario would be here.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's some iteration of Yankees in there and then either Dodgers or Phillies, right?
Yeah, that's the nightmare scenario, right?
That's just straight nightmare.
Well, and I mean, again, you're going to have a potentially a big rivalry matchup there with the Cubs and the Brewers in the second round, right? And again, I think that the Brewers might be a little fraudulent, and the Cubs might finally start to figure out a way to win baseball games, even though they couldn't help us in any way at the end of the season. Big thanks to the Cubs for that. But we're still kind of rooting for them overall. I don't know. I'm just rooting for baseball to be fun. I think like what you said is true. The nightmare scenario would definitely be a Dodgers-Yankees rematch. That's the biggest nightmare rematch. Nicholas Dalton, I agree with you. He says the same thing. I also don't really care to see the Phillies in there, right? So if you throw that bracket back up, I feel like anybody else from the National League, Kevin, can you throw that bracket back up? Anybody else from the National League is acceptable here to me, honestly. Reds would be great. Cubs would be fine. Even the Padres, those ringless bums, for them to get the World Series would be fine. Only for them to have their heart broken by the Seattle Mariners, that would be neat. But yeah, no, I mean, on the AL side, I don't really hate a lot going on there. I mean, I'm not a huge. I would love to see the Blue Jays make it. I wouldn't mind to see either of the Guardians or the Tigers make it, even though that would end our Seattle Mariners' hopes and dreams. And then Mariners, like, I feel much differently about the AL, but those teams have hurt me less, right? All of these teams on the left have somehow hurt me in some way recently, and I'm mad at all of them. So it's hard for me to want to root for any of them at all. But I do root for you guys, and I thank you guys so much for being here. You guys are the true MVPs, including Faj, who took time out of his busy day being a father to join us. Thank you so much, Faj. We're going to still be here talking about baseball. So make sure, of course, to join us tomorrow. We're going to recap all of these elimination games, and we're going to talk more about the Arizona Diamondbacks offseason. We got some grades. We got some grading to do. I got a lot of grading homework to do, so I got to get on that and hand out grades to all. We're going to grade every Diamondbacks player season, all 40 of them. Why not? Again, we have plenty of time. What more am I going to do with my time this offseason? So,
are you also grading your exes or no?
We're going to be spying on our exes a lot. We're going to be spying on our exes quite a bit this offseason because a lot of them are still playing baseball. But of course, we thank you guys so much for your time. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. I am at Cap_Caveman with a K. Kev is at Kevo Post. Our show is at PHNX_Dbacks. But as always, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We love you guys. We appreciate your time. Don't forget, your time is your most valuable commodity. We thank you so much for sharing it with us, and we need your time. So please make sure, come back and check out this show. We ain't going nowhere. We'll be here 5 days a week at noon, except 1 day a week. We're going to be doing a post-game show on Tuesdays to make sure Jesse Friedman can join us. So I hope you do too. I hope you stick around and hang with us because we're going to be talking about baseball all offseason long. So again, thank you guys so much for your time. We appreciate it. We will see you next time. Until then, have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when your rookies can get valuable experience in high leverage situations.